that, I was at Boston College in the Big East. During that time, I was there 4 years. Georgetown and Villanova won national championships. And then I went to the Big Ten at Ohio State. And during that time, Michigan and Indiana won championships in those 3 years. And I was in Maryland for 22 years. And during that time, Carolina, Duke, ourselves, all won national championships. So I've seen and coached against the best players. As college players during that time, in different leagues, things like that. It's something to watch, and when you coach, it's not just a matter of teaching players what you know about basketball. It's a matter of learning things from players as players go on. In other words, I coach some really great players. I coached the guy that's taken first in the draft, a guy named Joe Smith, a long time ago. And I coached a guy named Steve Francis, who was the second player taken in the draft. And you watch those guys and you see what they do, and you learn a lot from them. Because by doing that, I can help other players. Those two guys I mentioned, when Joe Smith came out, he was drafted ahead of Garnett, Stackhouse, Sheet Wallace, guys like that. It was a pretty good draft that year. And I just watched him and how hard he worked. In other words, as a coach, we can tell you guys what we think is really good, okay? This is really a good drill. You have great people here that are giving you things to do. But then it's the player. It's the player that determines how good they get. Because you guys, a lot of you guys are really talented. In other words, really talented, okay? And some of the best players in the country. And that's great. But at the same time, there's a lot of guys out there that are working really hard, who might not be as talented as you, but if you don't work hard, and that's the deal here with these grind sessions, if you don't work hard, then that guy who might not be as talented as you might beat you when it comes time to play. His team beats your team. That guy plays his position better than you do. How does that happen? How can that happen? You've got more talent. You've got the most talent. Well, this guy really pays attention. This guy really goes after it. This guy puts up 500 shots a day when he's not in a thing like this. He's willing to do all those things to get better. And he doesn't have some coach in his ear all the time making him do it. There's guys out there that love the game. They just love the game. They love the whole thing about the game. They love to play. They love to be players. Nobody can take that away from them. And they play with a passion. It's unbelievable. When you guys obviously have had a lot of college coaches watching you. There'll be a lot more watching you as you go along. And the thing college coaches want is they want to see a couple of things. They want to see a guy that's talented enough to play in your league. In other words, if you're in the ACC, the Big East, the Big Ten, whatever, you've got to have the talent to play at that level. Then the next thing they watch is your team win. Does your team win? Okay, you guys all just watched the Final Four. What was everybody saying about Kentucky? How unselfish they were. How hard they work on defense as a team. Those guys, there's 4 or 5 guys in that team that are definitely first-round draft choices. Okay, but they were willing to score 12 points a game instead of 18 points a game if that meant they won the national championship. And Kansas was like that. Ohio State was like that. All those teams that were there, Louisville was like that. They were willing to put their talent into a team and make the team better. And you hear people talking about players all the time, when coaches are around talking about, well, that guy's good, but he doesn't help you win. He doesn't help you win. So you learn how to win by putting time in here, listening to what the coaches say. I was a head coach on the varsity, and I had put myself in a position, given my deal, where I did everything right to become a basketball coach. In other words, I played ball, which was fun. That was fun for me. But then I did what I had to do in school to make sure I could coach. And so none of my coaching would have happened if I didn't do that. And so I know you hear guys all the time telling you, you got to do well in school, you got to do this. Well, say you make the NBA. Say you all make the NBA. You play 10 years. That takes you to like 32, 33. 10 years is a lot. Average length, NBA player, 4 years. That's what the average player plays in the NBA, 4 years. So, that's your odds. You know, so you got to look at the odds all the time. So now you play. You break the mold. You were able to play 10 years. You stay home. So now you're 33. You made some money. What are you going to do? Play pickup? Hang out in the playground? What's out there? What do you want to do? What do you like beside basketball? And see, when you go to college, that's what you got to figure out. You got to figure out something you like to do beside basketball. That's, you know, the courses and all that in college, great. But like, big part of college, you meet people, you see people that you like. What do they do? What do they do? I'm not talking about the guys in your team or anything like that. You've got to find something you like to do while you go on. And a lot of guys struggle with it. A lot of guys have played for me. I'm talking to one guy right now. He played for me on the championship team in 2002. He's really struggled. You know, he's really having problems because for the first time in his life, somebody said, "You're not good enough. You can't play in the NBA anymore." What the hell? You know, he was All-American. He was player of the year in the ACC. He was all these things. And yet, he's not good enough now. He's 32 years old. And so, he's got to get something that he likes to do. And I think it looks like he's going to get into coaching, and he'll be a great coach because he had to work pretty hard to get where he was as a basketball player. But see, what you have to keep everything open. In other words, you can't screw up in school because that takes away certain things. You can't get in trouble because that takes away certain things. In other words, you want to keep as many options open for yourself. Now, you're here today to really work hard and compare yourself against other players. So, if you're a team player in camp today, what you do is you go as hard as you can because that helps me if I have to play against you to see where I am as a player. You show me something I can add to my game. See, you're always helping other people when you're playing as hard as you can every time you take the court. And coaches look for that. They want guys that are willing to work hard. It's a pain in the ass to coach somebody that you have to convince that he should play hard. That's not my job as a coach, okay? Because I'm going to coach as hard as I can every time I walk in the court. The last game I coached as hard as the first game I ever coached. And I'm proud of it. See, I'm proud. I have pride in the fact that nobody ever took away my enthusiasm for the game. And you have a lot of highs and lows in coaching, just like you do as players. But nobody could ever take that away. If I got beat by 20, I was out there the next day in practice working hard just to make sure that would never happen again because I owed it to the players and I owed it to the game. So what you're trying to do is develop that toughness, that certain thing that gives you an edge where you're a little tougher than the other guys. I don't know how many of you guys saw the game with the Heat and Oklahoma a couple nights ago on television. Anybody watch that game? Incredible level of play. Greatest players in the world just trying to work harder than each other. And, you know, I've seen Durant. Durant grew up right around here. He plays